semester, 6th meeting, Carroll PMC. Today we're going to be covering multi-senses pizza. We're going to be covering studying, organizing like a pre-med. We're going to give you guys some advice just based off of our experiences and also some of the pre-med or some of the medical student and other sources that we've had come on before. So today's agenda, we're going to start with some quick opening messages. We're then going to move on to organizational skills and then study skills. Those are the two topics for today. Kayla, Joey, and Roman are going to cover organizational skills, and then me and Michael are going to cover study skills. We are going to fit in a very brief 15-minute speed networking session right after the organizational and study skills. You guys can ask us any questions you want about our organizational or study skills during that time. It's going to be very quick, and I'm going to put a timer up, so when 3 minutes is up, it's up. We're rolling there. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to play some Carroll PMC pre-med Jeopardy afterwards. So it's just questions on multiple different aspects of being a pre-med. We're going to split you guys up into teams to do that, and the winner will receive some prizes. Then we'll cover the next meeting and close message.
Okay, so as Andrew indicated, our purpose of our meeting is to cover not only pizza, but also all the information we stated before. And then our goals are to excite, empower, and also involve all of you guys. Excite you guys in that if you're successful today, you'll walk away with more insight into medical field and role, and then empowering you guys that to bring the focus and the ideas to the pre-med class and community, and involving all you guys to participate in that Jeopardy and government factor. So with that, the COVID community update, there has been an increase in total cases. From last week was 10,325 to 12,825 in Montana. And the county numbers have increased by 85 in the last week, and the total stats in Montana have increased by 20. But luckily there's 0 from police program. And with that, we actually have someone who'd like to share an event that's upcoming.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm the co-president of the Health Sciences Club here. We're looking at setting up the Save the Brain training sometime in October. Save the Brain is an organization here in Helena that gives information and concussion prevention screenings. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to come see me after the meeting, or if you have any other questions about it.
All right, so we'll start with organizing your day. I do a lot of things. So I really like planners, so I have mostly use the month view on my planner. Every class is color coded. As you can see, these are old pictures, obviously. We're not in April, May, or November. But this is basically I do have everything in there from work to like doctor's appointments to like friends visiting or going out of town or whatever. And then I also have a month-long whiteboard calendar that I have above my desk where I study to keep me on track with stuff. And then I also have weekly things. So I have this whiteboard is on my fridge, and so this just has everything really clear. Every time I open my fridge, I know that I have things going on. I also sometimes make lists. And then I have these week papers that I have sitting next to my desk. I also use the sticky note function on my computer with like everything that I have used for that day, and then I delete it when I'm done. This just makes it so I like don't miss an assignment, and I will promise you that I have never missed an assignment the entire time I've been in college because of this. Because in high school I used to miss assignments all the time, and I didn't know what a planner was. So I strongly suggest using planners and color coding. That's just my tidbits.
All right, I wouldn't say I'm the most organized person when it comes to schooling. I miss a lot of assignments, I'm kind of late, but one of my techniques that I do for time management, I would say not necessarily organization, but I time everything that I do throughout the day. So I'll go to class and I'll say, okay, I have 2 hours here. And if I have an exam, say in like 3 days, I'll be like, I'll study for an hour, do whatever I want on my phone for 20 minutes, and then do whatever I want for the next. And I'm brushing my teeth, I'm using 4 minutes for that. I'm showering, I'm using like 30 minutes for that, 20 minutes. And so that's kind of how I organize things is time every day. And then usually on every Sunday, I check my syllabi from each class or like the assignments on Moodle. And I make voice reminders in my phone. Like I just ask Siri to set a reminder on like Tuesday at 2 to do my assignment that's due at 12. And whether that's like an hour before it's due, that reminder is just still on my phone when I'm looking at it. So I utilize my phone a lot. And then I also, for my organization, I keep all of my notes in one binder. I mean, it's one big chunky notebook that I've had for 4 years, and it's just jam-packed with everything that I need. So if I'm sitting in my OChem class or something, and then they're talking about a Gen Chem principle, I can just scroll back a couple pages, or like 50 pages, back to when I was in Gen Chem and review that thing real quick, and I'm good to go. It really helps when I'm studying for exams or something, and it's a topic that I haven't necessarily visited in a long time. I can just, in the same notebook, go back, check it out. It is a little messy. It's kind of hard to keep worksheets and stuff, but that's what I do.
I am somebody who, if you tell me something physically, goes in one ear and out the other. Horrible memory when it comes to audio, but tactile, superb. I have found that the best way to remember to organize a plan is to write it out. It forces you to organize your thoughts and put them in a comprehensible way that you understand, that others can understand. In the act of tying the action to the thought really cements it in there. More so if you deliberately lecture yourself and talk to yourself while you're doing this. Organization skills, resources, that's about as far as much as I can recommend. Pen and paper is the same as whiteboards. Biggest part is writing it down, seeing it in front of you, keeping track of it, so that even though your mind may drift from the topic, you have a physical reminder that this is you. But the most important resource is your motivation and your discipline. Try exercising. Do something you don't want to do. That will build a discipline to keep on task when you're trying to complete homework assignments that you really just don't want to do. You'd rather go take a nap, or drink a cup, or go and play with your friends. It forces your brain to enjoy a little bit of punishment and a little bit of neglect. But on top of that is the motivation. Not just having this discipline of, I will sit here, whatever it takes, but why am I sitting there? Because as Andrew has repeatedly talked about, and is incredibly important, you need to have your why. What are you aiming for? And why is it worth all this sacrifice and mental turmoil, but sometimes physical turmoil? Given the course loads many of us take, our body's kind of hurt after a couple nights of not enough sleep. And that's it. I mean, when it comes to finding things, there's just those usual tidbits. Put things where you expect to find them. Honestly, I'm the least organized person I know. And everything I have, all my study materials are kept on a bookshelf, and I oftentimes have to find myself scanning through an entire shelf of books to find a notebook from Gen Chem if I'm trying to understand. So follow Joey and Kayla's advice. Keep everything together, because frankly I'm just kind of spread out.
Okay. So me and Sergeant are going to talk about studying like a pre-med. So pretty much just some background on information processing. This is actually great MCAT prep for you guys who are taking the MCAT eventually. So pretty much what happens, sensory input comes in through either echoic or iconic memory. Echoic is what you hear, iconic is what you see. Okay, that's your sensory memory. Lasts for like a couple seconds. It's also what you like touch, like what you see and feel with your 5 senses. It comes in. If it's unattended, you don't pay attention to it, it's lost. Okay. Then with prolonged attention, this is going to go into your short-term memory. Okay. So There's a bunch of complexes that make this up pretty much. There's a rule, it's the 7 plus or minus 2 rule. Basically, you can store about 5 to 9 different things, your short term, or sometimes it's referred to as working memory. Without rehearsal of that information, it'll get lost over time. So you have to constantly rehearse it over time. And eventually, if you do that, that's known as the process of encoding. If you do that over time, you will encode it into long-term memory, which is where scientists think that it's a limitless supply of information you can store there. And then the process of retrieving that information, bringing it back to your short-term memory, and then you dictating it on the test or whatever. That is the process pretty much of storing, encoding memory, and then retrieving memory. That's what we're going to talk to you about today.
So as Andrew indicated, short-term memory is really can be seen as working memory, and with that, it's often difficult to retain information due to overstimulus that's provided in the world, and then being overloaded with multiple things. So, as is indicated in the encoding, storage, and retrieval, what we really like to organize in retrieval is information such as like on exams. But for the short-term memory, that's only lost in for less duration of time. So we really want to move it into long-term memory. And when we're unable to retrieve it from memory, it's often retrieved, when it is retrieved from the short-term memory, it's sequentially. So what we studied last often can be retrieved first, or it's fresh in our mind. And so over time, that's really what's been seen is memory is really time dependent, in that you spend more time investing, not necessarily chunks of time, but being consistent. With that time block that you set out for yourself every week or every day during the week allows you to have better success when you're trying to retrieve that information.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you about some of the ways that you can help encode information. Some of these I use personally. Some of these are on the MCAT as well. So this is great. This is just a great MCAT study session for you guys today. So rehearsal is basic. It's what you see Bart do every time on The Simpsons. You basically go over things again and again and again in your head. So Michael told me, like, oh, you got to go to the store and get sweet potatoes, apples, bananas, and yogurt. It's like, okay, sweet potatoes, apples, bananas, yogurt, and then like go through it again and again and again. And that's called rehearsal. Very ineffective because you can't do that forever. You run out of air if you do that, and over time you're just going to forget it. It's not that effective. Yet some people do that. Like you're looking at like your notes. Like I do this too. You're looking at your notes like right before an exam. You just like repeat, and then like you get the test, you just like write it down on a sheet of paper. Like that's pretty much where like rehearsal could help you. But otherwise, you're just getting into your like short-term memory, and in all honesty, that's not going to get encoded. We're talking about encoding here. So next we'll move on to chunking. Chunking is basically categorization. Okay, so it's kind of what you do with your notes. Like the teacher is like droning on and on and on about all these different notes. You create different bullet sections, maybe in OneNote or Google Docs or Word or something. Like you use like a solid bullet point, and go down and create like a square bullet point when they want to elaborate on that point a little bit more. That's chunking in a nutshell. You can also categorize it, put it in a different box. I do this in my notes, and then from those notes I can review them. The information's presented a lot easier, and then I can also make flashcards off of that. So that's chunking. That's a good technique. Mnemonics. You can do so much with mnemonics. You can use like there's these things called method of loci or loci or something. Mnemonics, basically what you do is like you create like a mental picture, like in your head if you want to remember like the order of something. You like recall specific instances where it's like you're like a destination, like okay, like from getting from the stack up to Charles Hall. Okay, like you picture different things on like a list, a different order, like along your path. You visualize that. Use your photographic memory, and then you can like go through the pathway. So I can think like, oh, at like the stack, like I'm getting sweet potatoes, and then I'm walking along. I see like a banana like along the side of the road. When I get into Charles Hall, and I'm walking up the stairs, and there's an apple on the stairwell. Right when I hit my dorm, there's yogurt there. Obviously, that makes like no sense, but you gotta like personalize it for yourself. So that's mnemonics. Then there's also just like linguistic mnemonics. Does anyone know what that mnemonic is? Does anyone here know what that is for? You can like make them really dirty too. Just like remember them. I do that all the time.
You're gonna go
Do you know what it is?
I've
though?
heard it. I would know
Do
if
any
I
of you
studied
know?
for the MCAT harder than I am.
None of you guys know what that is?
Like a linguistic mnemonic, like attaching it to a
It's
word.
a mnemonic to remember, like a certain thing. It's science.
But yeah, like attaching it to a word, right?
Isn't it a pathway?
Yeah.
It's a pathway. No, it's not the prep cycle.
It is the
It's like.
That's what I'm getting.
citrate, isocitrate,
Oh, yeah.
aldehyde glutarate. It's the Krebs cycle. So that's a one way to remember the whole Krebs cycle process. You don't really have to know that until the MCAT biochemistry. So if you're not there yet, don't worry.
You're already on top.
Yeah. But don't say that to your teacher. Don't. You didn't get that from me. Yeah. Anyway, self-referencing, next one. Okay, this is something that's pretty, that you can do to, I don't know, it just helps you relativize yourself to certain things. So like self-referencing, I used an example, it's a monocular cue, this is on the MCAT too, it's known as motion parallax. Basically what this is like, you're like sitting in like a car, you're like looking out, you see like things that are really close to you are like moving like really, really fast, and then things that are far away from you are moving like slower, like it appears slower. Basically what I'm just like getting at with that, like that's just a reference frame thing. Self-reference yourself in these instances, like really pull things from your life and use them as like life examples, use them to help you memorize things. You can do this all the time in the MCAT because at times like studying like 10 hours a day, like I was going through like the mental disorders list, like all the clusters, and I was like, oh, this applies, like connect it to your like personal life, and then if you do that, it's a lot easier to remember in coding. It becomes more personalized. Preparing to teach, you can just teach this to yourself. I'll be honest, like just straight up, like studying for the MCAT, there's a saying, it's called see one, do one, teach one. You'll see it on the next slide actually. Basically what that says is the best way to encode something is to see it, to do it like a math problem, and then to teach it to someone. Well, I saw it and I do it, and then I had to teach it, but no one was studying for the MCAT with me. So I would teach it to like either the wall, like, or like just legit like a teddy bear or something, like some sort of stuffed animal, like just teach it. And honestly, like it works. Like you gotta kind of like you lose some dignity and some pride doing it, but like it's worth it because it's the MCAT, get it done. And then spacing, last thing, some of you guys know this, spaced repetition is very, very essential, especially in biology where you gotta just memorize a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not gonna curse because I'm broke, but you gotta like memorize just a bunch of like random information. Like the first day, or the day after class, create flashcards, look at them, memorize them, and then move on and add on and add on and add on. You think that's too much information, but over time, if you keep repeating all the flashcards over time, and Anki is a great service that does this, that's known as spacing. And then this graph up there, it's known as, I forgot what the whole thing is. It's the decaying curve. It's how you forget information over time. And what will happen is that won't decay as fast. So you'll remember it's not a Hauser's forgetting curve or something like that.
I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I'm reading, that's kind of like how I'm feeling about it. Kind of just get all the information I know, but it's tough, especially when you're trying to read it from a test, or for a test. Often on exam day, there's multiple choice, fill in the blank, clear response, or drawing a pathway. Here's some tips that might be helpful. So what I've been told for multiple choice, is often you read the prompt, and instead of looking at the answers right away, you cover the answers, and then you're able to just try to retrieve from your memory or answer the question to yourself, and then look at the answer that closely matches that, instead of being prompted in other directions that might lead you to the wrong answer. And then like fill in the blank, read the context, cues, before and after the blank. Take a breath, and then either come back to it, or retrieve the information before the test with some practice on flashcards, like Anki, that we'll talk about soon, that Andrew also mentioned. For free response, again, read the prompt once. If there's nothing recalled the initial time, you can start on the broad topic first, like what's the general topic that was covered for the material, and then slowly get specific as you're thinking, and try and narrow it down to be able to answer that and then drawing a pathway. Some classes, like biochemistry, or like mechanisms in organic, they'll have you draw some of them all the way out. And things that are really helpful is like being in the same, like when you're studying, often some people study quiet and some for silence, and some people study, chewing like gum or something. So it's often useful being in the same physical state that you were when you were studying. This could, as I said, be your mood or listening to the same music right before you go into the test. But other helpful tips are listed here, just to be confident enough with material to teach another person. As Andrew indicated, C1, teach one. And then with that, after studying and being comfortable with the information, coming up with questions, like over conversation helps a lot to retain, or maybe check in and see what information you may not know, but it's helpful to have another person frame it in a different way when you're trying to reach out.
Yeah, something that we mentioned is Anki. This is something that medical students live by. It's not, you don't, like Quizlet will get you by the college. Anki, though, really takes advantage of spaced repetition, creates algorithms so that like you get flashcards that are meant for you to review on that day based off of if you got it right in the previous basic stuff. It's pretty cool. You can get it on Windows, Mac, and the iPhone 2 is like a mobile app. This is something that I'll elaborate on in future time. We got a little bit more time, so we're probably gonna transition to just the Jeopardy and the safe speed networking at the end. We're all gonna. I'll stick around. I don't know if other officials will. If you don't have to, that's fine. But we'll stick around. We'll talk a little bit more about specific stuff. But Anki is a great resource that I highly recommend check out.
And something I just want to add on really quick. I just found out about this yesterday, and I was thinking, if I found out about, so it's Rev Notes, and if I found out about that my freshman or sophomore year, it would have been a total game changer. So Andrew was talking about Anki. So, like there's a tedious process of actually making the flashcards. So Rev Notes, if you format your notes in a certain way, it actually automatically makes those into note cards on Anki for you. And those are both free apps. Or on the phone, I believe Anki is a repository, but Rev Notes is free, and Anki on your computer is free. And I'm totally going to utilize that for the rest of the semester and year. But yeah,
That's like a game changer.
yeah, I found out about it yesterday.
You know what Anki is? Like,
So
just
yeah.
speak with us after. That's actually really awesome. Yeah, and then there's just your typicals. You got Khan Academy. There's Chet. You can like look up answers on. Just be careful. Use it wisely. People get in trouble for that sometimes by posting tests on there. Yeah,
Don't do that.
Anyway, yeah. Carroll. There's tutors here at Carroll too. Please reach out to them. And then it's free to take the course, obviously, and then your instructors too as well. Just go to office hours or hit them up. With that, we are not going to do speed networking because we don't have time. We want to get into pre-med Jeopardy. We spent some time on some of these questions. They're pretty cool. There's 18 of you in here. I apologize to people on Zoom because we won't be able to incorporate you in person. But feel free to like stay on and look at the questions we have. But for the 18 of you that are in here, like teams, 6 teams of 3. Well, enough. You can do it.
Well, I was thinking the big one. Everyone would get this list.
That's what I was thinking.
So how many?
You have
8.
You're 8.
Yeah. But it's meant to be.
We have 8.
Yeah.
Well, that would be 6, 3, 6, 7.
Yep. You want to do that?
Yeah. Teams of 6. Pick your favorite 6.
So 3 teams of 6.
Who wants to win? Who wants to win?
It's very evident.
It's okay. Yeah, I am in
Yeah, wait, we had a quiz or we? Soccer, and practicing outside all practice, and then we start practicing inside.
Okay, so wait, we got one team here. Two.
I say? Sorry.
Yep, we're gonna get started. Excuse any typos you see in here. This was definitely not done at like midnight last night. But yeah, excuse any typos. Otherwise, we're gonna just kind of roll through this. What is it?
Does anybody watch Jeopardy?
We can put on the
How long do they
music.
How
go?
much time?
It's like the 5.
Should I put on the music? I'll put on.
No, it's like 3 seconds, cause it's like 5 things, and then goes boom.
3 seconds.
That's real fun. Yeah, I think it's like 5. Let's make it
Yeah.
fun, because we're overachievers.
Alright.
I mean, some of them are getting kind of hard.
This song is 30
That's your final. That's your final.
Alright, and we're starting.
Yeah, we're gonna begin. Okay, so.
Very nice.
That echo effect in play, eh?
We are not playing that.
Okay.
All my friends died.
Okay, we're just gonna kind of like roll through this in order. We're gonna get as many rounds as we can in, but as you can see, there's gonna be categories. So just take it in, make it through this.
Yeah, well,
Yep, we'll start with
there you go. Thanks, Pam. Just have your name.
Previous meeting info.
There you go. For, okay.
Oh.
For 200.
Get therapeutic treatment that differs trios from MDs.
In like therapy.
Oh my God.
It's like yeah, you're right. It should just be who.
Wait, should we just, if we know the
Pick
answer?
the question and then anyone can shout it out.
Can't anyone like stand up and say what it is, right?
If they don't get it that first try, then
Okay, the real Jeopardy, don't you look like this?
No,
Yes,
shout
we're
it
not
out.
playing real.
you ain't doing that.
Yeah,
Here's how
so
we're gonna
it's a
do it.
modified.
Wait, here's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna rotate, or should we do
Yeah, we should do it. Okay.
papers?
Yeah. Because then everybody
That's
can
too
get the
long.
right answer. Ah, shit.
Let's just.
Okay, we'll either do.
Dollar in the jar.
We'll either do, put your hand up if you think you got it, and the first person put their hands up answers. Or the team that picks, they'll start, and if they get it wrong, they'll have 30 seconds, or if they get it wrong, we'll go open, and then the first hand that goes up, they get to go.
Yeah.
That way? Okay, so you guys had your hand up first back there.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your answer?
DOs have to specialize in ONT, and they can't specialize in some MD practices like surgery, neurosurgery.
Yep, we're just looking for the therapeutic one, so osteopath manipulation therapy, it's OMT. Oh, great, on the first one.
It's actually OMM.
I mean,
Yeah,
But
I heard
it's
it as
OMT
OMT.
also, it has like 2 different names.
no, you guys
So
are
that's
right.
right.
So you guys are team 3, so we'll give you 200. So yeah, we'll be
Guys.
specific on some and then.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, yeah.
What is it?
Okay, and we're gonna go.
Alright, put down.
No, so we're gonna go.
Okay, so team 2.
Okay.
Jared, I think I bought it.
Medical trivia 100.
We have bigger numbers. Referring to low oxygen in the blood.
Hypoxia.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Okay, team 3.
Hey, what do we want?
Edward, you fix everything.
Wait, are you marking?
Yes, it's
Oh,
on the
there you
board.
go. Oh, you have everything there? Okay. What is pre-med essentials for 300?
The medical school program that gives students residing in the northwestern United States admission to the University of Washington School of Medicine.
Whammy.
That is correct. Very good.
Plus and minus?
Alright,
it's
team
like
1.
Worth.
The application used when applying to any MD medical school outside of Texas. It's your standard
Outside.
medical school applications, it's outside.
Outside.
Anyone for
Not
MDs.
inside. Outside.
Looking for like a certificate here.
Oh wait,
Hang on.
I'm done.
Alright, fine.
Wait, what is the AM?
Okay, it's open.
What's open?
You guys raised your hand.
What?
Yes! Woo! You have to raise your hand.
Alright, but this is what you guys are gonna do. You're gonna MD, this is what it is like. Medical college application. I have PTSD.
Medical trivia 1000.
Alright, penicillin's made from penicillium mold. What dairy product is made from penicillium mold?
I don't know.
We got 20 seconds.
We're on it.
Blue cheese.
Yep.
There you go,
That was impressive. I am
So, yeah.
Pre-med essentials for 1,000.
Alright, so finding something you love is extremely important when choosing clinical and non-clinical experiences, but without doing this, these experiences might not benefit your future self as much as they could.
True.
That's
True or false?
So these experiences might not benefit the future self.
So we're looking for an activity you should be doing when choosing and doing your clinical and non-clinical experiences to make them the most beneficial for
Okay.
your future self. Yeah, but yes.
And then it goes on.
Then it goes up.
I'm still confused on it.
I'm just looking, what's the best thing you can do with your time, right?
We're looking for an act, like something that you do, like an activity.
It's a variety of activities you do as you prepare for that applying medical.
You guys have a guess?
So like volunteering, finding your own personal activity outside of the clinical work.
I see where you're getting at, but it's not exactly what we're looking for.
I don't know.
So,
Confusing. Yeah, they're not experience.
Alright, what do you guys think?
Journaling your experiences?
Journaling is correct.
Oh.
You always journal your experiences.
I did not get that
for that. No, it's not for journal. Did you add 1,000 to this?
Yes, sweet.
Oh, great. Okay, so the side of Chicago that I'm from.
Okay.
Either north, south, west, or east. Be careful, just look at that pen. I got like 15 seconds.
Alright.
Suburban north.
On the south side.
Oh, yeah! I knew it! I was so offended that. Wait, did you guys
Okay, we unfortunately have to go back. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What would you guys like to choose?
Medical trivia 500.
Oh.
Okay. In medical terminology, what does it mean? Abbreviation.
Twice a day.
Yeah.
How do you know all this? You just know?
Alright.
Good job.
Group 3.
PMC officials performance.
Or you said
On the far right.
Carroll PMC Vice President, academic minor.
Okay, you say it then. You think it.
What is biochem? Dang it.
No, guys, wait there.
Oh, are you the vice president? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
theater.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I need
I said that. The other
Yeah, I can't get them apart. They're like, it's so hard to get together. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, what do you guys like? The website of the podcaster, Ryan Gray.
So it's the website that the podcaster Ryan Gray mans that we continually reference and recommend that you all check out.
What?
This is like the way to talk.
You guys are doing it, not helping. Yeah, that's like.
Okay, yeah, so the website is known as Medical School Insiders, but Pre-Med Years is the podcast that all of you guys should be really good.
Okay. Group 2.
Your PMC officials 1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Okay, what's the?
Who is the?
What's the color of Joey's glasses?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, it was
That's a good thing.
I know.
Yeah, it's definitely in the visible spectrum.
Wait, they raised their hand first.
What do you think?
You go.
Yellow.
Incorrect.
Dang! Green. Oh.
Light
Yeah.
That
could be yellow.
Basically.
Alright.
I think we should do
So, group three.
what? 1,000? Okay, previous meeting info 1,000.
Alright. Blank, not politician.
Teamwork.
Same thing.
Oh, wait, that was
Synonymous.
We just gave him 1,000.
For a second time.
We just got 4 words.
We just, okay, yeah, so you go.
American Association of
Association of American Psychologists for Humans. Double MC. Yes.
Acronyms and symbols 1,000.
For every word.
I presented
Dr. Osteopathy/Masters of Science in Healthcare Administration.
Team three.
You still want to pick something.
You're not getting that.
Previous meeting info for 500.
What did?
Oh, this is Becca.
What did? What Becca recommended that all you write down right now.
Becca's the med student.
Is it like why medicine?
Yes.
Woo!
Acronyms for 500.
Okay.
I always forget how to say the second word.
It's okay if you butcher the word.
I always forget how to say the second word, but it's dilation and cure.
Yep, that's the procedure Dr. Parson performed before the, Zoom in.
Bonus question for 200 points. What is a DNC? Open to anyone. First hand that goes up. What is going on during a DNC?
They are dilating the uterus to induce pregnancy.
Not quite. Yeah?
It's when you're going in, you're kind of sucking on any fetal products that are not viable. Any
Yes.
what?
It's removing any debris that's left in the uterus, usually from a miscarriage.
So you had the right idea.
Right, pre-med essentials 500.
Sorry?
Pre-med?
Yes.
Is this one Jeff? Yeah, can you, is this one?
This is Jack.
Okay, Jessica said, I just saw it, Jessica said, Dr. Carson said that if you really love what specialty you're doing, you'll want to do it, and it won't seem like work. The term she hates that this quote came from. 3 words.
Work-life balance, that's correct.
Nice.
Okay.
Medical trivia 300.
What was that for 300?
Medical trivia.
Yeah. Part of the human body that can expand 20 times its normal size. Yeah, well, yeah.
Do you know this? You know this?
Excuse me, remember, that was 500?
500?
Yeah.
Okay. Or this one? Yeah. Thank you.
Excuse me,
What?
Before that.
Their question was 500 and then they got, no. So that's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Just say something, say whatever you want.
Thank you.
Okay, lungs.
What was that?
Which one are you choosing?
Lungs.
Incorrect.
Uterus.
Incorrect.
Yes.
Stomach.
Yes.
I was like, no, that's what you were talking
Always listen.
Hey, how much was that for? 300, right?
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Group 1. Oh, so you got that,
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I was just making sure.
We'll do previous meeting info 400.
Oh, you said 400?
Yeah.
All right.
You gotta list 5 types of clinical experience available
Hospital volunteer, hospice.
Scribe.
Yes.
Great, that should be this bang.
Medical condition when the body does not make
Diabetes.
it does not make, yeah, what's type? Okay, group 3.
Acronyms instead of symbols before.
A dual degree option for physicians who want to act on medical development and pursue a business start.
Is it like MD, MBA or something?
Alright, we're gonna speed through these. We're gonna try and get them all done. Why not?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna do this really fast. Okay, starting with.
Wait, did you actually give us points?
300?
You gave me the wrong. Okay.
Yeah, I
You want that name?
No.
You got 10 seconds to do that name.
They needed to read.
Yeah, I think you skipped this for a couple of points.
Like multiple
Okay, how much time? Yes.
Oh, that's from the bottom.
Final answer? Single word.
Okay, wait, that's Hermes Scepter?
That's where we stop, but we're looking for the name of it.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, yeah, I do. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but is it like a codicus or something?
Can you spell it?
Like a C.
Close enough.
Alright,
Go ahead, Jeff.
You just
Right.
resent it.
Previous 300.
Previous, the medicine that he was practicing.
Osteo.
Yep, I'll get that.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. Your thing?
We just click on the one that was simple.
How many points was our symbol one? It doesn't matter, we're almost done.
Like 200.
Let's see. Previous meeting info for 100.
That's what.
It was 300.
Previous meeting info.
It's 100 though. It's fine.
Yeah. Your hand will finish.
Yeah. The Career Center in Borough.
Yep, that's correct.
I didn't know how something. Oh yeah, that's for one.
Here's the officials for 300.
Question awareness programs.
Save the brain.
There you go. Very nice.
Dude, you're having a call.
300 points. Okay.
Medical trivia 200.
Alright.
This second largest group of lamb plants, after angiosperms, are used in traditional Chinese medicine to treat cardiovascular diseases, tonsillitis, cystitis, and skin infections. Yep.
Yeah!
Thank
you. Item 123.
Okay.
Acronyms and symbols for 100.
That's not everything's pretty much
Okay, you got this now. Say it.
MCAT.
Alright. Okay, good one.
PMC officials 200.
Yeah.
It's time for research that Michael over here extensively participated in the summer with Carroll's own doctor here. We're looking for like a general definition. It's like one word, blank research.
Oh, is it independent?
We're looking for the specific,
Oh, the
like
specific.
what he was studying. It's not as specific as we're
If no one gets it right, then they get it. Are you going
Does anyone know?
Want to give them one more hand?
It's affiliated with drugs. So like, you're treating bacteria, you use
Shout it out.
Antibiotic.
boom. There you go. Yeah. Okay.
Pre-med essentials 100.
Yeah. Person who throws their pre-med peers at a
Gunner.
Gunner.
Look at what this guy's Last question.
Yes, the job really does allow us to provide healthcare that finds patients at two different solutions. I think.
Yes.
remember.
I don't remember.
Any guesses?
Proscus?
Okay.
CNA.
Right.
What is CNA stand for?
Alright, so we're gonna, while we're adding that up, we're gonna just like cover the aspects of this, I guess, while we're adding it. I guess so. We're planning on the topic for next meeting still, we're like in between like EMT, we're also thinking about guest speakers, we don't know yet, we'll let you guys know on the weekend.
There's a lot of guest speakers upcoming. If there's a particular like field you guys are looking for, please come up and ask, and we'll try our best to make that possible. So the quote to leave with is, "You don't sacrifice what you want becomes the sacrifice." So, yeah. Thank you guys for your time today.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.